Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And in EVE Online I started the week in a Mars space since I still had to do a little bit of BPC business stuff, getting the jobs reset and then of course putting up the contracts for those BPCs. We are in a slow period in general and it's not different for the blueprint copies, so we're definitely struggling to get a fast turnover for the BPCs. The structure surprisingly are doing quite well, pretty high in price, especially on the industry ones, industry related ones, but when it comes to the ships, even freighters and things like that are very depressed in price and take a very long time to move. I mean, I'm doing most of my contracts in a Mars space and there I do see that pretty massive slowdown. After that, decided to jump back to Galente space, focusing mostly on a little bit of exploration there, trying to, reshape my Ishtar. So the Guard 2s are actually doing a pretty good job so far in my exploration for the sites in Galente space. But yeah, the Ishtar doesn't have that bonus for them anymore, which is something that I completely forgot about, although I should have known it. But was mentioned in the comments when I showed you guys how the Guards performed in the 3 out of 10. So I'm looking into maybe getting a more active playstyle for that Ishtar. With ogres, for instance, I would get way more DPS and I think the right damage type. So it's running with the ogres already. I just rarely use them. Maybe I should focus on that a little bit more in some more exploration exercises, you could say. Constantly went back to Jita for a little bit of active trading there as well, and I made a couple more trades that yielded me a little bit of benefit. So trade on the Ishtar, and there's another one. Yeah, Kitsune is up for sale. Really, potentially I could almost double the investment on that one. All of a sudden running out of them in Jita and able to set up a very high sell price. I'm not sure if it's triggered just yet, but we will see how that works out, of course. And yeah, still looking into buying ships, selling ships, with the biggest focus on Tech 2, although some Tech 3 destroyers may have some potential as well, and I'm still holding on to one of those. But yeah, actively trading in Jita for 4 despite the lower activity, and there's a little bit of pressure, I would say, on most prices. To me, it just means that I can hunt for better bargains and then get a decent return. I'm not looking for like super high returns or anything like that, just quickly looking to turn over individual ships and try to make some extra ISK that way. So far it's been working quite nicely and it's been pretty damn rewarding. Also moved or took a transport ship, I should say, to Dodixie and to Rennes, where I have a lot of stuff still hanging around, and actually did a couple of local sales combined with trips moving stuff to Jita, especially the exploration stuff, for instance from a Mars. From Minmatar space, I moved like a macro up drive that was selling, had an average price of I think like 60 million ISK. It was actually selling for 55-ish, definitely way below 60 in Rennes itself. Moved it over to Jita and there we had a sell price of almost 80 million ISK. So very big regional differences, showing that transportation of stuff is actually also quite valuable. And I would say for exploration that's definitely true, since you are usually getting drops from pools nearby that sell for very low prices locally, but move it to Jita or move it potentially to another trade hub and you are looking at very interesting markups all of a sudden. So that's what I've really been focusing on, mostly doing some more market stuff, doing a little bit of exploration. I've done a tiny little bit of mining as well, but turns out that my compression spot is no longer either publicly allowing for compression or refining, or maybe they went to like low energy or something like that, no longer in the list. So what I'll probably have to do for that, if I want to do more mining, is look for another station, another structure that allows for public refining and thus public compression. Maybe just move my OrCat there, but not sure if I want to do that either. So we will see. Overall, I'm still having fun, enjoying my time in EVE Online. and I'm just, you know, keeping a pace, trying to do a little bit of exploration on most evenings, and yeah, keeping up, of course, as well with my station trading that I'm doing in GTA 4.4. It's been very enjoyable. I do Eve Talk every week, of course, which helps me to look for some of these opportunities, and then when I spot them, try and get a good price and then sell them a little bit later for more ISK. That's basically my Eve time at the moment. This gave me a little bit of time for some other stuff, and that meant that I had the summer sales on Steam to look for another game, and I chose a Tainted Grail Conquest. It's a game that I actually saw for the first time mentioned in a video from Angry Joe, and it looked pretty interesting. It's a deck building game, decently good graphics, I would say, and so I decided to jump on that, looking for a bit of a Hearthstone adventure, PvE adventure experience. And that's exactly what I got there. So I've been playing that game quite a lot over the last week, enjoying my time learning the classes, learning all of the classes, the cards, and also learning the enemies. And so I think I've basically over the course of a week managed to master like 90% of the game, I would say. There's maybe a little bit of stuff that I still need to do, like I need to unlock the marketplace that requires like 5,000 gold in investment. I think I'm almost 4k in, so I will eventually get there. I unlocked the slots in the weapon and the chest, which I think is pretty important. Makes your character a lot more powerful right off the bat as soon as you get a couple of those rune stones. But overall, I have been enjoying my time in Tainted Grail Conquest quite a lot. The most powerful character or class by far, in my opinion, is the Sentinel. It's able to like run up a lot of damage right off the front. Just, you know, focus on gathering more arrows, and you can basically keep shooting and trying to find the most optimal way of playing all the cards that you end up with on turn 1, for instance. It's a massive amount. That's definitely very interesting and quite potentially quite challenging. Bosses are pretty interesting, but I must also admit that the content is pretty limited. I do feel like I've basically gone through 90% of the game at this point over the course of playing it for 1 week, and the rest of it is basically unlocks through grinding that'll make it a little bit easier and maybe progress to you know, a little bit more damage on the true final boss, or maybe a higher difficulty level. I'm not even sure if that's there. I finished a 4. I'm not sure if I get a 5 at this point, but we'll see how all of that evolves as well. So I would say that during the sale it was like 30% off, I think 13 euros or something like that. I got way more than 13 hours out of it and definitely had a lot of fun, but not sure if it's you know, worth jumping on for full price, for instance. I'd feel like you get a good deal with like a 30% off or something like that. I would dare wait for a sale for Tainted Grail Conquest, because yeah, expect like a week out of it, maybe 2 weeks if you're like playing a little bit more casually while you're at work and things like that, or while you have to work and things like that, when you have limited amounts of time. But don't expect this to be a game that you'll play endlessly, certainly not at this point. The good thing is, I would say, it works. No crashes, no problems, no bugs that I really noticed. I mean, there's a couple of tiny little things where I was like, was this everything really? Was this correct? But overall, definitely an interesting game to play through, although you'll have a limited experience at the end of the run. Another thing that I would say is that for now, I'm hoping that they'll like add stuff to it. It does end up becoming pretty generic, right? Almost all of the cards and passives and things like that revolve around get a little bit more armor for your defense, get a bit more damage, you know, get a little bit more energy, which usually comes at drawback, or lower the energy of a card or something like that. It's very common, and you don't really get any like super different stuff, like which in Hearthstone, those adventures, that was what it was all about. Get some very unique gimmicks that on themselves are maybe not super powerful, combine that with with some more gimmicks and you get some crazy stuff with the right hand. That doesn't happen there. It's really about building up your character, making the right choices, and you're basically very quickly funneled into a very specific playstyle and a very specific set of choices when it comes to the types of cards that you want, that you choose. Something that's very powerful as well, remove some cards, because there's always those that, oh no, never gonna play that, just leave it behind. So you're trying to get rid of that to optimize your deck is part of it, but there's no like crazy curveballs or super special passives or anything like that until maybe at like level 20, the maximum level. There you do get a couple of very powerful passives all of a sudden, but none of these actually also feel like they're that special or unique. The difference in playstyle is mostly centered around 3 classes, I would say. So you get the archer type, with the sentinel being by far the most powerful, completely OP stuff. Then you get the melee guys, probably I would say the most challenging bit, because you're mostly dependent on block rather than building up a big pool of extra, not armor, but you know, an extra bar, blue bar above you. And then the summoners, where the blood mage, in my opinion, is also very, very powerful, because he can set up tanks that, you know, cost him a little bit of life to set up, but then they, you know, can just soak up all of that damage. Those were a couple of very easy runs as well when I played with the blood mage. So I would say sentinel, blood mage, by far the easiest options to do a bit of grinding, to get through the game, to learn all of the mechanics. And then you could maybe get a little bit more replayability when it comes to trying to master all of the other classes, like necromancer, very, very complex with a different lich form and all of that stuff. To me, that was like, I don't really feel the need to go that in depth into it. Maybe a little bit more cool stuff can be found within there, but overall, you know, 3 classes of a subclass, you could say, of like summoner, melee guy and archer guy, they always get those same cards again. So it's always, you know, the same minions, it's the same plus armor, plus damage, that type of stuff, which does, in my opinion, limit the experience. But you know, it's a pretty damn new game, so perhaps there will be updates with some extra crazy stuff. Overall though, pretty positive about Tainted Grail, and I would say if you're interested in that type of game and you see it on like any sale on Steam, definitely worth picking it up, because you'll have a week or a couple of weeks of fun with the game. And yeah, that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.